Hey, what's going on, Archons? Welcome to the Boulevard Blake YouTube channel. This episode, I'm actually doing something a little bit special. It's a Help from Future Self crossover because of the fact that we are doing something really special today. We are using the crossover from our most recent episode of Help from Future Self. We were given spoilers, and we just wanted to have a visual representation of these cards, since talking about them is all great and all, you want to see them, and we were given that privilege. So as a result, we have Sydney with me, which is a first.
I'm really excited to be here, Blake. This is really cool.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I'm super pumped for this. So without further ado, let's just launch right into it. First off, you should go support the Gamefound, which has launched at the time of you seeing this. And the link is in the show notes to get to the Gamefound site so you can back this latest set of KeyForge. And as a result, Sydney was kind enough to make a strong connection with some people at Ghost Galaxy, which allowed an avenue of conversation, and we were considered for being a spoiler revealer.
I'm super excited to reveal these cards. They're really awesome, and they're a really good representation of what this set is going to look like.
Yes, and so without further ado, let's launch into the first card, which is a Saurian card, and it is called Pale into Insignificance. And it has an Ember Pip. It says play, destroy each creature with the lowest power, and it is a common. And you can see the beautiful text there at the bottom for the flavor. It says the history books will remember my name by unknown. So really fun card.
It comes with an Amber Pip too, which is awesome. And the fact that it's an action means you can play it whenever it's convenient for you. And I think it really does work well with the tokens in this set.
Yes, 100%. And we wanted to take this opportunity. So we're not trying to have a overlapping conversation here too much between the podcast and this. So if you have not listened to the podcast, please go do so. We get into quite a lengthy discussion here. We actually wanted to talk about this because this is a form of removal, and to a degree, a sort of board wipe, because you're potentially getting more than one creature at a time. And we just wanted to speak on how we've seen this evolution have a sort of a contingence. That's not the right word. Contingency?
Conditional board wipes.
Thank you. Yep. Yes, conditional board wipes. That's the word I'm looking for. So we have seen many different iterations of conditional board wipes over time, right from Coda, but I feel like it's become even more conditional as it's gone on, which I'm not mad at. How do you feel about that, Sydney?
I think that it's kind of cool because it makes you look for board wipes that fit into your deck more than just, yes, my board wipe is checking a box so that I have it in my arsenal. It's more like, does it work really well with my deck so that my deck can continue to shine after I've played it?
I like that. That's a great way of summing up the way things have become. And I think with destroyed triggers, I actually like things that do a specific and not everything, because then you can have this fun thing where maybe a destroyed trigger causes something to happen that allows you to interact with another one of your cards. And if everything goes, sometimes you really don't get to see the full value of those destroyed triggers, which is why I like a card like Pale into Insignificance.
Absolutely. So some of my favorite board wipes are cards that leave creatures on the board. So in this case, with destroying each creature with the lowest power, you are going to leave on the board creatures with higher powers, which, because this is a Saurian card, will likely include your Saurian creatures. So I really do think that this is a conditional board wipe that is great for the house that it is in.
Yeah, that is a great point. I totally agree. That's super cool. Another thing, the other evolution of board wipes is, I thought Maelstrom, one of the more recent ones, is quite an interesting. It's conditional, I feel, in a way, because you're not actually getting rid of the cards, and it affects both of you. And I thought that was one of the most interesting jumps for a type of board wipe. How do you feel about that card?
So the fact that it's also an action on play, put each creature on top of its owner's deck in a random order and gain 2 chains. So just like Pale into Insignificance works really well with the Saurians in the new set, I think that gain 2 chains works really well in Dark Tidings. So it has the feel of the set. It also is pretty conditional, but it also affects your own creatures. So there is a lot of considering whether to play it or not. If you have a lot of a board, which Dark Tidings does have a lot of a board, then you might not want to play it. And the decision factor is really where the strength of the card and the strength of the player comes into play.
Yeah, totally. And then what you have that maybe have playabilities that you want to see again, what your opponent has. There's so much to consider with that card and how it changes the forward momentum of the game. Where now looking at Pale into Insignificance, it's great because it's not going to do everything, and it's also not great because it's not going to do everything. You know, there's going to be people I think feel both kinds of ways. So I think that's a really interesting aspect to this card. But I think seeing how the card comes in decks is going to be a big part of it. Like seeing the distribution and what other cards come around with it is going to really be the clincher, and we won't know that until we see the printing of the decks.
Right, like the tokens specifically, because if the tokens do have a lower power, you might want your Saurian token to stay on the board. And so whether Saurian tokens come with their natural ability to have a higher power could combo really well with this card.
Yes. Speaking of tokens, I think that's the perfect segue to go into the next card we were given. And this one, Sydney, you can talk about.
Super excited for this one. So this one is called Future Booster. It is a Star Alliance artifact. It also comes with a Pip of Amber and is a common card. It reads, Omni, look at the top card of your deck. You may put it at the bottom of your deck. And so if you are seeing this here on YouTube, you are looking at the amazing art of a really cool futuristic gauntlet that looks kind of like a boombox with a bit of a screen on top of it that's projected out of the gauntlet. And it's just a really fun piece of art on top of a really, really great artifact. But also can't not mention the flavor text at the bottom. I keep hoping it will boost my present, but no luck so far.
Yeah, that is I love that that flavor. But honestly, the flavor text on both these cards is just amazing. I love it. It's got good humor, and it creates such it really embodies the fun lightheartedness that KeyForge brings as a game.
Absolutely. I think that these cards together really embody their own houses, and they're just a really cool way to interact with tokens in ways that we haven't even like come up with yet. So we're just like, our imaginations are going crazy with the kinds of things that this card can do.
Totally. Yes. And we wanted to talk about this card in direct relation to tokens being a thing and the way that mechanic works, which is you take the top card of your library and you put it on to the battlefield face down, and the back of your card shows a token representation to the reference card that will be accompanying your deck of Winds of Exchange. So as you know, if you're just pulling the top card of your deck and putting it into play, that could be the card that you need to deal with your opponent's stuff. And if you don't know whether that is or isn't that said card, that could put you in a sticky situation where it's almost like tokens have become like this wild wormhole, except you're not playing the card. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Like, you don't want to bury a card that you're definitely going to need later, or maybe your deck is a really combo heavy deck. You want to make sure you know what card it is you're turning into a token.
Yes, and that's where Future Booster, I think, is really going to be the star of this set, is the fact that you can be aware of what you are making a token before you make it. I just think it's going to be incredible. Before I even saw these spoilers, I was saying, like, there's got to be something we're going to see that allows you to look at your deck again. And I did a video referencing previous cards in Star Alliance that allowed you to kind of level your deck and show how you want things to come up. And this card is just taking that to another level, because you don't have to be in Star Alliance to be able to do that. So it's going to really synergize with a token creating deck.
Absolutely. So because it's Omni, your deck doesn't necessarily have to have a Star Alliance token for this to synergize really well. So you could be in any of your 3 houses and be able to look at the top card of your deck. And I think we're also underselling the fact that putting it at the putting the card that you see at the bottom of your deck is really powerful. Being able to choose whether that card becomes a token, whether it's something that you draw into your hand, whether you're going to put it at the bottom and save it for later. Future Booster really is fantastic.
And I wonder if there'll be cards like we had, I think it was Manchego, that said if it's in your last 5 cards, then you get an extra bonus. I wonder if we'll see something like that where this will actually play into that sort of aspect where you put a card on the bottom and it being in the bottom part of your deck is going to create something else to trigger, like we saw with Manchego and Shadows.
That would be really cool. I feel like that feels like it should be in this set, something that cares about where something is in your deck, especially because tokens do come off the top of your deck so far as we know right now.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is just the first of a series of cards that are going to utilize the ability to have some control over what you're making a token. I really feel confident we're going to see something come about more than just this one card. But the fact that this is common, I think, is going to provide it to be there in this capacity to help with your decision making when making tokens, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and it also means that you can really center your strategy around knowing what is coming, because as an artifact, this is staying on your board. And so you can do this over and over and over again, and that really does help you strategize future turns.
Yeah, totally. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. We just wanted to allow some visual accompaniment to the podcast. And so Sydney joined me on my YouTube channel so we could do this. We hoped you loved it. Please go back the game on Gamefound. If you have not listened to the Help from Future Self episode, please do that. Links to both of those things are in the show notes, so please go check that out. And as always, folks, may your ember never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.